there are two types of errors related to confidentiality. One is to disclose information to those who don't have the right to know, and the other one is to fail to disclose information for those who has the right to know. Now we'll talk about who has the right to know. Breaching confidentiality is justified when first there is identifiable group at risk of contracting AIDS, like the sexual partners, the IV drug users, and there's a carrier, which is HIV positive patient who has no intention to disclose the information. And the third is there is a physician who knows the carrier status and the antibody status of that carrier. Now, at risk means that the contact with the HIV positive patient is at real risk because not every contact with the patient can contract AIDS. Vulnerable groups in this case, the sexual partners, IV drug users, and those who have the potential to be exposed to his blood, like the healthcare workers. Now, since the appearance of AIDS, several methods were used to prevent the spread of the disease. At first, they start by saying that everyone has to be subjected to mandatory testing. Mandatory means by force. Like in marriage, he has to be examined for HIV during employment. Those travelers, students when enter to school, to the university, prisoners, and the like. But it was found that it is not ethical and not cost effective. Even that time, when AIDS appeared, some suggestions, very strange suggestions came out that, okay, why don't we put them in a city or in a compound and separate them from the public? Some said that why don't we tattoo them on their faces so to be known, which is part of the mandatory testing. But as I said, it is not ethical and not cost effective. Remember, one day in 1992, again, we did HIV testing for what? 100,000 pregnant ladies in Jordan. And the first 100,000 ladies, HIV positive patients were 0%. At that time, we stopped testing for HIV among pregnant ladies. The second option is voluntary testing. Voluntary testing plus voluntary informing their contacts. Voluntary testing, so the person volunteered to go and test for HIV, his or her HIV status, and if positive, voluntarily he has to inform their contacts. Now there is limitations here, as you can, it's clear. The limitations are certain people won't volunteer testing. And again, those who tested positive for HIV may not inform their sexual partners. Now, voluntary testing, we keep it voluntary, plus we urge those who tested positive to inform their partners directly. But again, this directly is limited by the inability to verify whether did he or she told her or his partners about his or her HIV status. There is no way to verify this. Or preferably indirectly. Indirectly means through the healthcare worker, and in this case, the physician. But the problem with this approach, however, is that the physician has to play the dual role. One is to treat patients, and the second is to inform partners. Again, the suggestion came out that why don't we put an official office for these kind of cases to be responsible for notifying the partners. But again, some patients do not provide all their partners. Again, the problem is not solved. Now, non-compliance in supplying names of partners should not be sanctioned. We cannot force those who voluntarily tested for HIV and came out to be positive. We cannot sanction them. We cannot put uh, or what? We cannot provide sanctions for them because what? Because if others knew that we sanctioned those who did not comply by naming all their sexual partners or IV drug users, means that the others would not volunteer to go and test for their HIV status. Now, the solution here is that we warn the AIDS patient or the HIV positive patients of active means of contact tracing may be employed to know of his compliance. But we can tell this patient who is HIV positive, okay, you are responsible for telling your partners, and we have our means to verify that whether you told them or not. And in this case, if it appears that you did not inform them, then you are guilty. Guilty means legally, you are legally bounded and you will be sanctioned if you did not tell your partners. And we have our means of verifying how we know that you did not tell your partners. Again, we need to remind ourselves of all these discussions. We need what? For the program to succeed, which is voluntary testing, voluntary informing, and at the same time warning the HIV positive patient that we have the ability to verify whether you informed your partners or not. The success of this program requires what? Requires strong reinforcement of legislation against discrimination. We don't need the HIV positive patient to be the victim of discrimination against employment, against housing, against schooling, and at the same time, we promote the program of voluntary testing and voluntary informing with warning. Remember, there was a case when he was tested positive for HIV, and then we told him he was engaged with a girl, told him to divorce her, otherwise we'll tell her. Then, a few months later, he went down to Syria and bring another girl for marriage. But luckily enough, he left the country uh, and did not appear anymore. Confidentiality in medicine. Since it is inclusion in medical code of ethics, confidentiality serves to what? Serve to respect the patient privacy, part of patient's right for privacy, by keeping his or her personal, physical, and psychological secrets confidential. And by keeping this, we are building a trust between the physician and the patient. And by building a trust means more information or more secretive information coming out from the patient. And in this, the ultimate is improvement in the patient health care. Over time, That was since the code of ethics was put. There appeared certain changes in medicine that required to revise the principle of confidentiality. What are these changes? The rise of hospital medicine instead of the office. Medicine means the secret is not between the physician and the patient, but also there are other people who share this secret. The rise of healthcare team. Now, medicine is expanding, and now it is the team who works with the patient, not only the physician. So the potential for confidentiality or keeping confidentiality between the physician and the patient is not anymore because of other parties sharing the secrets. Existence of third-party insurance. Now, the insurance company, as we know, that people, 87% of Jordanian population are insured, and for insurance company to cover the cost of the medical cost, uh, the insurance company has the right to know what is wrong with this patient. And by telling them what's wrong with this patient means that we are breaching confidentiality. Again, the expanding limits of medicine. The new technology that appear, the more technology, the more people involved, and the less confidentiality is kept. The case of elective surgery involved many people, like physicians, nurses, respiratory therapists, chart reviewers, secretaries, financial officers, a clinical pharmacists, lab technicians, X-ray technicians, insurance company. All those are looking for what information the patient has conveyed to his physician. Aspect of medical confidentiality that were discussed is the confidentiality and third-party interest. Now, what aspects of confidentiality related to third-party interest? This aspect relates to the tension between our moral obligation as physicians to keep information versus what? Moral or legal duty. Moral or legal duty to reveal it to third party. Are we legally bound to reveal information about the patient to a third party? Yes, there is. Like the family, the employer. You cannot tell the patient to go and have a rest for 1 week without telling the employer what is wrong with this patient. Now, the police, in case of medical legal cases, if you are faced with an injury that could be medical legal, you need to inform the police about it. And you are legally bounded. You cannot cover a case of injury that has medical legal component without informing the police because you will be jailed if you don't do that. Now, the public health authority has to be informed also. There are certain communicable diseases. Each and every physician detect any of these has to report this finding to the public health authority. There is what is called the list of reportable diseases, polio, measles, and all these kinds. And again, there are certain diseases now that you need immediately to inform the public health authority because they need to investigate it. H1N1, SARS, all these diseases, you have to immediately inform the public health authority to investigate the case. Now, in this case, you are left between what? Tension between what is good for the patient and what is good for the society. Again, the society is in our consideration when dealing with patients. The safety of the society is as important as the safety of the patient. Confidentiality and patient interest. This aspect relates to the tension between patient interest to maintain confidentiality when it is in conflict with receiving the best healthcare. Now, if the patient want to keep all the information confidential, then the best way is not to investigate that case, not to send him for MRI, not to send him for the lab, not to send him for the X-ray. And in this case, you are compromising what is good for the patient physically and what is good for the patient in keeping his information, which is that this is the tension that arises between the patient interest for to maintain confidentiality and his receiving of the best health care. High-tech medicine requires many specialized workers, which means more cost. In this case, few people can afford to pay for this cost. This required access by third parties, which is the insurance companies, and the insurance companies to be involved in the cost is requires review of the chart by many chart reviewers. Now, if you are insured for an insurance company, you send a fax to the insurance company of what is this case is, and then the physician that is employed by the health insurance will review the chart, will review the information, and he agree or may not agree on what are the procedures to be taken. For example, now all the procedures became automated. If you ask for ECG, for example, for the patient, you have to write the justification on the computer. What are the justifications for ordering ECG? Otherwise, the program will not accept the order. Why? Because the insurance company put rules when our ECG is to be done. If there is none of them is related to ECG, you cannot order ECG just because you like to do ECG. You have to justify it. And by justifying it means that you are committing yourself that this information written in the computer is actually there in the patient. Otherwise, you cannot order the ECG, and this applies to all the investigations required for the patient. You have to be clear on why or the justification for asking for this type of service, because the medical insurance is the responsible person for the cost of this, and they require you to review uh, to justify your order. And again, the chart reviewers will review the medical file of the patient. Medicine expanded to include, now, if you go and taking the history from the patient, you start by social history, then the complaint. There is also the psychological status of the patient, economical problems of the patient. All these are included in the medical file, which result in disclosure of more sensitive information like his habits or her habits, the economic condition of the patients to be included in the medical file. If you look into the medical file, you can see so many social, psychological, and economic information related to the patient beside the physical complaint, the family history, and the present history and past history of the patient, the disease. Each of these development modifies our understanding of confidentiality. Are those all these information taken should be confidential? This is the modification that appear due to the expansion of the medicine to include all these components. But whatever the change in medicine, the function mentioned above should not be entirely removed. Whatever happened in medicine, in the teamwork, in the rise of hospital medicine, in the expansion of the medicine, does not mean that we turn from our moral obligation towards the patient and become adopting for the consumerism, which is لا يمكن نطلع المريض على انه زبون. He's still our patient. His information is confidential to the best of our ability, unless it's interfere with certain moral or legal things. All these factors related to our understanding of confidentiality does not negate the fact that we are still dealing with a patient and we cannot treat him like a consumer. What are the possible solutions in terms of confidentiality information in the medical file of the patient? In doctor's office, confidentiality is preferred. So in private practice, you have your own office and you deal with patients. So all the information is between you and the patient. No third party, وبالتالي the confidentiality here is preserved. But in hospitals, only people who need to know, provided with access. In hospital, we need to make sure that just the people involved have to have access to the medical file of the patient. Now, what are the possible solutions for the medical file? First possible solution is to divide the file. There is a medical section, there is the psychiatric section, there is the financial section. So the people involved in reviewing the chart may be involved in reviewing the medical section, but are not allowed to the psychiatric section or to the financial section. The second is the patient should be informed what is meant by medical confidentiality. Now, if the patient has misperception about what confidentiality means, we need to make him understand or to inform him about what is meant by confidentiality. We cannot keep this information secret because for your sake, we cannot, this piece of information, we need to provide it to the third party so as to cover the cost of care for you. So we need to orient the patient about what is medical confidentiality means. Again, there should be distinction between information that has to be confidential, regardless of third-party interest, and those exchanged for patient interest. Our duty in this case, again, in addition to making the patient understand what confidentiality means, we have to make so much effort in distinguishing between that piece of information that has to be kept confidential regardless of any people, and those which can be provided to a third party. So definitely still in medicine there are information that need to be kept confidential regardless of anybody. It's just kept confidential for the physician alone, and nobody is allowed to look into these piece of information. So we have to make much effort in distinguishing between this information that need to be kept confidential with the physician regardless of any third party. The fourth is patient review his chart. This is another possible solution. Give the chart to the patient and he select which information to be revealed, which information to be concealed, and let him balance between confidentiality and high-tech medicine. Again, if he selects certain piece of information that to be kept, we need to make him understand that this piece of information, we can conceal it, but at the expense of your good medical care, if he agrees to that. There is another topic that is related to confidentiality which is not commonly addressed, which is confidentiality and indiscretion. This is another aspect of confidentiality that is rarely addressed, which is what? Avoidable exchange of information in hospital rooms, elevators, cafeteria, cocktail parties, and the like means that going up in the تطلع بالاسانسير تلاقي اثنين بيحكوا عن مريض اكس ولقينا عنده كذا ولقينا عنده كذا ولقينا عنده كذا واحنا مش عارفين ان احنا we are revealing confidential information unintentionally, but this is what's called indiscretion. Now, increase in number of people having access to patient information, which increases the responsible abuse of confidentiality. In this case, we are using confidentiality responsibly. You cannot, you have to be aware of what you are talking about, especially in these places like the hospital rooms, elevators, cafeteria, cocktail parties. All these are places we need to be aware of what we're telling about our patients. This behavior is very worrisome to patients, especially if it is their friends or neighbors who knew this information. ممكن يكون صاحبه اللي واقف جنبك انت بتحكي مع صاحبك ممكن يكون جاره. Patients should be interrogated concerning their complaint in a tone of voice which cannot be overheard. And this is another aspect. وهذا الحكي يمكن لامسينه بأرض الواقع. تروح على المستشفى تلاقي 17 واحد فايتين على المريض ها شو بتشكي. طبعا المريض اللي جنبه سامع، الناس اللي بالكوريدور سامعين شو بيحكوا، وبالتالي this is another worrisome thing related to the confidentiality which needed to be taken care of by interrogating the patient in a tone of voice which cannot be overheard by others. In conclusion, medical confidentiality described in the codes of ethics are no longer exist. From all the discussion above, that strict confidentiality that was described by Parson is no longer exist. There are parts of confidentiality still there, but other aspects of confidentiality are lost. Now, the best for the public and the profession is to devote their intention to determine which aspect of confidentiality need to retain and put their efforts to protect them. Now, at the end, we are focusing only on certain information that need to be kept, and we put our best effort to protect these information. The other topic related to the practice of medicine is telling patients the truth. Are we truth tellers to the patients؟ هل نحكي للمريض كل الحقيقة ولا بنخفي عنه شغلات؟ الآن this is another issue that needs to be resolved regarding telling the patients the truth. Comparatively, or compared to the previous days in practice of medicine, openness now is increasingly practiced in healthcare. Increasingly practiced. أول كنا لما نشوف المريض ما نحكي لهوش لا كويس أنت، وبعدين لما يطلع نحكي لأبوه، نحكي لزوجته، نحكي لأخوه، نحكي إنه عنده كذا وكذا وكذا. الآن openness is increasing practice. Now, the practice of medicine, you have to be open to the patient. There is still uncertainty among the MDs on how to communicate bad news to patients. This is when the news are normal or ordinary, there is no problem. But the problem arises when there are bad news and the physician has to communicate these bad news to the patients. For example, incurable cancer. discovered patient with incurable cancer or terminally ill patient. Can you tell him that you have few weeks to live? And now in the fetal medicine, sometimes you discover that the fetus inside the uterus has congenital anomalies. Can you tell the pregnant lady that your fetus has congenital anomalies? These are the bad news, that there is uncertainty among MDs how to communicate this bad news to patients. Now, the vast majority of physicians tell less than the whole truth. And I mean by the whole truth, all the information he has about the patient. He tells some truth, but vast majority of them tell less than the whole truth. When you ask them why don't you tell the whole truth, their argument is that why destroy hope? I don't want to destroy hope to the patient. This is why I'm not telling the whole truth. Why to create anxiety? Telling the whole truth means create anxiety, increase anxiety status of the person, and I don't need to create anxiety to the patient. And by telling the whole truth, this is their argument, is that I'm violating what's called the harm principle, which is do no harm to the patient. This is the physician's argument about regarding not telling the whole truth. Now, when we ask the patient, their answers are different. And their argument is that if they don't tell us the truth so as not to destroy hope, they don't know that our fear of the unknown is the worst disease. This is from the patient's perspective. That fear of the unknown is the worst disease for us. Yet all the information is difficult to get. We try our best to get information from the physicians, and we are faced with difficulty in getting this information. Again, they said that the word round, when the physician and the team goes during the word round in the morning or in the afternoon, goes so fast. And it seems no one is concerned about your understanding. Yeah, and no time is devoted during the word round for making the patient understand what's wrong with him. This is from the patient point of view, saying that the word round goes so fast, and it seems that nobody is concerned about our understanding what goes wrong with us. And we look to the healthcare team, and it seems that all are busy, or it is a policy not to have time to give information. They look all busy. They don't have time to give information. And in this case, if by not getting all information, by moving so fast during the word round, by looking so busy, what is the end of it? This is the patients say that the truth is the first casualty. الضحية الأولى هي الحقيقة لأنها مش عارفينها. وإذا هذا الحقيقة الضحية الأولى، معناته الثقة راح تكون الضحية الثانية، وبالتالي we lose trust in the medical profession. For the physician, it is easier to decide what to do when the outcome is clear. But the problem of communication arises when the outcome is not certain. Now, this from the physician point of view is that if he has the whole truth or all the information or all the outcome, like you have appendix or you have appendicitis and you need surgery, this is well known. Now, medicine is the science of probability. So nobody is 100% certain of what goes on regarding even the provisional diagnosis or regarding the outcome of any medical treatment. And this is where the problem of communication arises when you don't have all the information related to the disease, diagnosis, or the outcome of the treatment. Since the days of Hippocrates, through the oath of medical ethics itself, there is no mention of telling the whole truth to patient. حتى قسم أبوقراط ما في اللي يقول لك إنك تقول كل الحقيقة للمريض. وطلعت أول مرة كانت الأمريكان ميديكال أسوشيشن in 1980 introduced this code of ethics, or the truth, what's called the truth principle, is to tell the patient all the information related to his condition. Whether to tell the truth and how much to tell is an issue even in work outside the hospital. This is part of our life, medical profession or outside the hospital, to tell the whole truth أو how much to tell of the truth. يقول لك أخفى جزء، قال نص والنص الثاني ما حكاهوش. Now, their argument against not telling the truth are: physician not telling the truth is viewed as telling lies. This is the ethicists say. If you don't tell the truth, this means you are telling lies. إذا أخفيت الحقيقة أنت بتكذب. Especially if we remember the special relationship that's built on trust. وخاصة إذا ذكرت على عامل الثقة اللي بينك وبين المريض، اللي بيحتم عليك إنك تحكي الحقيقة وما تخفيش، وإذا أخفيتها تعتبر كاذب، وبالتالي أنت ضيعت التراست أو الثقة اللي بينك وبينه. Now, the opponents, ethicists with the physicians, say the counter is the which is the counter argument, is that the intention that is all important. هسا ما حكيتش الحقيقة، هو بقول لك إنه إذا ما حكيتش الحقيقة مش معناته أنا بكذب، هو my intention، أهم شيء النية. ليش أنا أخفيت الحقيقة؟ مش مشان أكذب، مش مشان أدمر العلاقة بيني وبين المريض، لكن هي نيتي إني why to destroy hope, why to create anxiety, and all these things that make me not telling the whole truth. The argument against not telling the truth is the second one, which is: what justification is there for telling a lie? The justification to tell me the lie? Lie here equation means not telling the truth. Medical ethics is part of the general morality. أخلاقيات المهنة الطبية هي جزء من أخلاقياتك العامة كطبيب. And unless there is special justification for not telling the truth, then lie is a lie wherever told or whoever tells us. وإذا ما فيش justification not to tell the whole truth، معناته الكذب كذب بغض النظر وين حكيتها ومع مين حكيتها. Do MDs by the nature of their work cannot be always open and truthful؟ هذا تساؤل. الآن هل طبيعة المهنة تحتم عليك إنك ما تكونش أنت منفتح وراوي للحقيقة؟ And if it is the case, then how can we guarantee truthfulness on all other conditions؟ وهون موضوع حساس جدا. طب إذا طبيعة عملك إنك ما تكونش دائما open و truthful، الآن قل لي كيف أنا بدي أعرف لما بتحكي معي إنه اللي بتحكي الحقيقة ولا مش الحقيقة؟ ضاعت، ما كنت مش قادر أعرف. لو كنت بعرف إنه دائما بتحكي الحقيقة معناته بعرف كل اللي بتحكي حقيقة، لكن إذا بتخفي جزء منها اللي هي جزء من طبيعتك open not to be open and truthful، لكن معناته إنه حتى اللي بتحكي لي إياه صرت أشك فيه. والtruth principle اللي طلعوه may come in conflict with other principles. If you are violating the truth principle by not telling the truth، معناته you are in conflict with other principles you believe in. What are these principles? Patient autonomy, Now, if you believe in patient autonomy, we discussed it thoroughly in this course, then if you're not telling the truth, you are violating the patient autonomy. Patient autonomy means providing the patient all the information needed and leave him to choose what line of treatment to use. If you don't tell the whole truth, then how can you guarantee the patient autonomy? Now, if you don't tell the truth, you are violating again the physician honesty. Honesty is part of the physician characters. By not telling the truth, then you are not honest, which come in conflict between the truth principle and the physician honesty. Again, in crisis, when life is finishing. Now, suppose that patient بده يكتب بسيطه وهو مش عارف انه اجله قرب. تحكي عن terminal البيشنت he has few weeks to live وانت you don't want to destroy hope وما حكيتلوش الحقيقه وبالتالي ما اعطيتوش حتى مجال انه شو يكتب بسيطه ولا ما يكتبهاش، شو يكتب وشو ما، وبالتالي in a crisis when life is finishing انت مع اخفائك للحقيقه صارت in conflict مع other issues related to the patient. He wants to do it before death, but you did not give him this opportunity. Even in trivial situation like when called at night بنادوك يا دوب نايم بنادوك على الامرجنسي روم، صحيتك من النوم ازعجتك؟ لا ما ازعجتنيش. لا انت كذبت، انت لما صحيت اكيد كنت منزعج. ما حدش بيصحى بعد ساعة نوم مشان لما واحد يصحيه من النوم ويقول له والله لا ما انزعجتش. لا انزعجت حتى بالتريفيا situation like when called at night. انت برضه هاي part of your general morality. المفروض انه the truth principle in violation with this trivial situation again there are conflicts between the two. Now to the defense to lying to patients, we put the issues from the physician point of view and from the ethicist point of view. Now, the physicians say in situations where uncertainty is a major issue, I don't have all the information, I'm not certain about the diagnosis, I'm not certain about the outcome of treatment. This is where the truth is not given the whole. Like the ethicists say, okay, even in this case, if uncertainty is there, then even in this situation, these are the counter argument. Even in this situation, you still have, as a physician, you still know a great deal, and not telling what you know. I'm not asking you to tell me what you don't know. Just tell me what you know, and not telling what you know because they do not know the whole truth is both deceit and immoral. بالتالي انت متهم بعدم الأخلاقية للمهنة طبعا إذا أنت اللي بتعرفه احكيه، إذا ما حكيتوش معناته في deceit وفي immorality بالموضوع. Patient cannot then choose his or her treatment. This from what I know. The second counter argument is that it is important not to confuse, and this is very important, not to confuse between the difficult and the unimportant. Are you not telling this patient this piece of information because it is unimportant, or because it is difficult for the patient to understand? Now, we need not to confuse between these two things. What is difficult to understand and what is unimportant. If it is unimportant, that's okay, but you assume that it is difficult for the patient to understand. This is not ethical, because although it is sometimes difficult to pass information to people lacking the experience and the understanding, In this case, what they need is more effort to make them understand. Unimportant is unimportant, it's okay. But to assume that it is difficult for the patient to understand, this requires you to provide more effort in order to make this patient understand. And if he doesn't, then what? Then the patient is not competent and you need a surrogate. The second issue is no patient likes to hear frightening news. This is from the patients, for those who are defending the physician position and not telling the truth, is that because that no patient likes to hear frightening news. The counter argument for this statement is that based on studies. In one study, 20% of patients denied that they have been told about their illness, while the physicians said we told them about their illness. 20% of them denied hearing this. Either they did not hear it or they did not understand it. But again, still there is 20% of patients who denied of being told about their illness. Second study, or the second group of studies, showed that 2/3 to 3/4, up to 75% of patients will be willing to know if they were diagnosed as cancer patients. وهذه عكس الحقيقة إنه no patient like to hear frightening news. دراسات بتقول لا, up to 75% of patients were willing to know if they have cancer. Now, other studies surveying the physicians reported that they would not speak openly with their patients. اعتراف صريح وواضح إنه من الأطباء, ما بقولش كل الأطباء, لكن في جزء من الأطباء قالوا إنه we would not speak openly with our patients, which is again a counter argument for no patients like to hear frightening news. Third issue, اللي هو no professional, even the physicians, has the right to consider it is their duty to suppress information to preserve happiness. مش من حقك أبدا إنك أنت تفترض إنه أنت by suppressing this information you preserve happiness. This is not your duty. This is not your duty to suppress information to preserve happiness, because fear of the unknown is the worst disease. Don't play this role by suppressing information in order to preserve happiness. This is not your duty. Paternalism is sometimes justified for severely ill or dying patients. صحيح. Paternalism, which is concealing certain information, but respecting this person is by allowing him to choose among alternatives instead of lying to him. حتى dying patient, حتى severely ill patient, sometimes justified, like as we said before, paternalism, comatose patients under surgery, patients in severe bleeding, in emergency cases, but still respecting this person by allowing him to choose the other person, not those persons. Most of the persons, we need to respect them to allow them to choose among alternatives instead of lying to them. Truthfulness can do harm. What you don't know is harmless. This is another argument that since the patient does not know anything, this is harmless. But if he knows what goes on, this means that you are violating the harmless. But the counter arguments here is that all it depends on how you tell the truth. حقيقة الآن في talent عند الأطباء. في ناس they know how to approach the patient. في ناس they don't know how to approach the patient. For the same piece of information, the talented person can give this information in a way different from the other person. Now, it is not a good policy to teach students to keep their mouth shut of telling bad news. And I'm talking about here bad news. It is not a good policy to teach the medical students to keep their mouths shut of telling bad news. But we need to teach them how to discuss the information, even the bad news, in a gentle manner, sensitivity, caring, provide full support, and not abandon their patient. لأن فرق بين ما تحكي مع المريض بحساسية وأنت supporting him we are both together with the disease غير إنك أنت تقول له والله هذا مرضك وكأنك بتخبره إشي وما كيش دخل فيه أنت. إذا في issues of sensitivity و caring و support داخل بالموضوع وخاصة لما بتحكي عن bad news with the patient. The long-term effect of lying is severe to patient, family, and the society in all aspects of confidentiality. Now, there are certain arguments related to why the physicians are not open. Some say that by not telling the whole truth, so they are in better control with their patients because they know all the information. And the other one is that physicians sometimes tend not to tell the whole truth so as to avoid confrontation with the patient. Why and what ويمكن الكلام اللي نسمعه بالمستشفيات اليوم بين فلان انضرب وطبيب انضرب ومش عارف والكلام هذا يمكن عشان حكى كلام أو أخرهم أو لكن يمكن جزء منه له علاقة بكيف نقلهم الأخبار وبالتالي الأطباء بيقول لك إنه ما بيحبوش يحكوا بعض حقائق أحسن ما يتواجهوا بغضب من المريض أو أهله. Now, if we look into medicine, as we said before, medicine is science of probability. ويمكن ريني دويس هون في كتابه ألف كتاب على هذا الكلام. كان كانسر بيشنت وأطباءه قال له وكتب كتابه بعد 10 سنين مما قالوا له أطباؤه إنه أنت you have 6 months to live. أطباء قالوا له 6 months to live وهو بعد 10 سنين من الكلام هذا كتب كتابه اللي هو الميديكال نيميسيس لعنة الطب. وهذا بأكد إنه medicine is the science of probability. There is always the possibility to combine the truth with the infusion of hope. ويمكن هذا الأساس حتى الباد نيوز telling the truth is there but again it has to be supplemented with the infusion of hope. Statistically your life is measured in months but there are people who beat those. What's wrong with telling the patient? عادة الناس اللي زيك من الإحصاءات أو من الدراسات بتقول إنه الناس اللي مثل وضعك عادة بيعيشوا أشهر لكن في ناس عاشوا 10 سنين. في ناس عاشوا 10 سنين. احنا بنحكي statistics months لكن في ناس لا عاشوا أكثر من هيك. إذا hope is not equal to survival. أنت لما تقول له في ناس عاشوا أكثر من التاني أعطيته أمل والأمل هذا لا يعني إنك أنت أكدت له إنه هو راح يعيش. Hope means different things to different people or to the same person on different situations. وبالتالي الأمل لما تعطيه الأمل طبعا كل واحد بيستقبله طريقته الخاصة فيه وحتى نفس الوقت عند different situation ممكن يكون إنه الأمل هو المخرج الوحيد إنك حتى تتل the bad news. الأمل ربنا موجود وربنا ممكن يعيشك. احنا بنحكي كبشر احنا بنحكي وبالتالي ربنا هو اللي بقرر امتى وشو اللي بده يصير. There is no conflict between our moral duty to preserve hope and our moral duty to respect our patients who should be given the information they need to make their own free decisions about their lives. Thank you.